You may have found me from my original Dragon's Dogma review that I put out around 6 months ago. My name is Couch Coop, spelled C-O-O-P, and I review single-player, split-screen, and local co-op video games. Video in question, the original Dragon's Dogma review from all those months ago, hit 15,000 views in one day. YouTube forgot to hide the damn thing. It was the first of two lightning strikes, the second one being the Helldivers 2 day. That wasn't the release date. Helldivers 2 had been out nearly a week at that time, and Dragon's Dogma 1 came out 12 years ago. Why are you moaning about getting good numbers? For me, YouTube at the moment is a little bit like being in a prison cell. I get my numbers, I get my meal every day, they lock the door, everything's fine, 300 to 400 daily, not a problem. But when those spikes come in, it's like they forget to lock the door, and I get a glimpse of the mansion that exists outside my cell. It's so depressing, it takes me weeks to get over it, and those spikes are now off my analytics so I can sort of get on with things.
Oh man, they're wrong with you.
I'm so sorry to have taken you all through that. I know I've lost 76% of the viewership already. We're not even at the 2-minute mark. As a cherry, this game's amazing. Dragon's Dogma 2 changed the way I look at action RPGs going forward. One of the first things that's going to hit you is how similar to Dragon's Dogma 1 it is. They've switched out that big snake fight with Medusa, they've given you some really cool background setup, and the system within this universe isn't the most simple one. There's a hierarchy, there's royals, there's different classes. It's quite a crazy universe, but I love the way you're introduced to it, and we didn't see too many performance issues on this cutscene / intro. A bra wouldn't have gone amiss. Then it's really business as usual. I want to talk about the vocation or the class choice. Now, as an older male, I've chosen exactly the same thing that I had in Dragon's Dogma 1. Don't want to rock that boat. I've gone for the warrior brawler build. I always prefer it. I will look into going to range and mage, and there's a new vocation, like a mystery one with a dude with a spear. But as an initial look to this world, very impressed with how the light hits everything, how detailed all the groundwork is. But we do see a little bit of frame drop here and there in busy areas. High-fiving the pawn after the fight, that's something we'll get to. Oh my god, that was a stroke of genius. Now, this game is going to immediately rub some people up the wrong way. As an open world action ARPG, it absolutely hates fast travel. This is all about the journey, journeyism, making it from A to B, the treacherous trail that will throw things at you when you're getting to a destination. That's just as much put into that section as there is with any of the main fights, boss fights, or dealing with the NPCs. It is going to slowly dawn on you that it's got one of the more versatile photo modes I've ever seen in a modern game. Pause anywhere, anytime, pan around, get some zoom. You just can't unhook it from the main character, unfortunately, but good lord, it allows you to look at this game in some incredible detail, and the detail is everywhere. Let's get back over to that performance point. This game is supposed to be running at 30 frames per second, which it kind of does, and it's supposed to be putting out at 4K, which I'm pretty certain it manages in most sections. There is no performance or quality mode. You are stuck with the one function on console. You'll also notice my character was a little bit more developed there, slightly better shield and some decent armor, and then I died within a cave and made the ridiculously ludicrous mistake of going down to start from the last inn that you saved at. Unbeknownst to me, that was bloody ages ago. This game gives you one save, and if you get pushed into a dead end, you've kind of got to work it out for yourself. Let's talk about what Dragon's Dogma is, essentially. For me, it feels like a Dragon Age Inquisition game, a little bit, with that party system. You can't actually control your pawns, but you do have some commands. More importantly, pawns get switched down. This is the genius of the leveling system, is that the 2 slots that you pull pawns in from the server have a locked level. So once you start getting higher than them, you need to switch them out. But the one pawn, your main one, will always level up with you, and that's the one that people will borrow and use that sits on server. I know that doesn't sound very layman, but it's a system that means you have to part with pawns that you've kind of built a relationship with. That might be someone else's. You have to say farewell to them. It's all kind of amazing. It also feels very much like Monster Hunter World for me, with these incredibly large creatures that you can grab onto, climb around on. You cannot focus on, mind you. That's one thing about the Dogma series, is that there's no Souls-like focal button. This is a little bit more like Tsushima, where you're whipping around your weapon in an area in front of you, and you have to make sure there's something worth hitting in that area. So other than losing at least 6 hours of gameplay with that load up issue, I also had a glitch with one of the main missions. Surprisingly enough, it's called Vocation Frustration, and it involves you going to get a staff for the mage and the greatsword for that warrior class. The greatsword was not there, even though the mission log told me I'd found it. When I went to hand it in, it was like, you just haven't got it. Went back to the cave, looked for the greatsword. Thankfully, you can buy the damn thing in one of the villages further down the line in the game, but it kind of ruined things. I really wanted to open that class and see whether that quest line was going to open up to anything else. And that's the thing about the Dragon Dogma series, is that it's so unhandholdy with its questing and markers and areas and where to go. And you're enjoying the game so much that when you reach a brick wall where you've got to crack the laptop open, get the goddamn roadmap out, it's devastating. You feel like you've let yourself down, or maybe the designers just don't really playtest this stuff with Westerners like myself who are a little bit thick. But looking at this engine, wow, that RE remake. So I was trying to think of the newest Capcom release that actually utilizes this engine in its most modern form, and it probably is Dragon's Dogma 2. I really like it. I love the particles. I love how it represents gore as well. Just look at the dilapidation on the Minotaur. And this dude just rocked up at one of the main cities. I came out of my house and he's like, hello. Back to that Monster Hunter analogy, if you can imagine the game with 4 really good AI control companions, then you're sort of halfway to Dragon's Dogma 2, and the veracity and powers that you have at your disposal, both through the pawn system and yourself. You get a good twang when your shield gets whacked. You can also do a timed parry. So there's a tiny millimeter of smaller, minute essence of, dare I say, a Souls game in here.
The prison has been drenched.
So without having a dedicated click-in focus button, you can really muck moves up by just sending them in the wrong direction. You do have to watch, there is timing, and the stamina depletion is real. I was running out of it all the time because I was over encumbered, and just this build means that you can't use specials or spam them all the time. You need to just hang back and let that meter get back up. Now, let's talk about that health meter. If you can see the green energy bar, it only reaches as far as the white line underneath it. I'm looking at about 20% depletion, and this is back to that original point when I fell off that bridge. I needed to go to an inn, I needed to rest. If you're inside a dungeon or a quest and you get in that sort of state, you have to kind of withdraw because it will just get worse. It shortens your health bar the more you're further out or longer away from that rest point. This is a prime example. I'm back in that damn goblin lair looking for the greatsword box, not realizing that I'm never going to find the damn thing because it didn't even come out of the box in the first place. But I am screwed here. My last save is well within that lair. And I'm like, it's just a bunch of goblins. What could possibly go wrong here? My God. And the game bites back perfectly like that. As soon as you start resting on your laurels, it will send some nightmare fuel to you. It's also got reroll, which I didn't realise. All those hours I lost, I had to do the coming out of the house, whatever turns up in the city section again. And this time it was an ogre, it wasn't the Minotaur. It's pretty cool. And he's dressed in some protective garb. When you're on the back of these things and you hit that photo button, you're just amazed at how much detail is still in place during these hectic as hell fight scenes. And the frames don't let you down. I think that's important. When push comes to shove, you kind of forget about the frame issue. If you're walking around the open landscape, coming up to a big settlement, or maybe into a sector of the game that you haven't been to before, you'll see a few drops. But as with the Rise of the Ronin video, we are only going to see improvements on this. The base game, the meta, is impeccable. How does it work with the monsters? How do they turn up? Are they like missions? It's a bit of both. You will have stage fight sections and you will encounter random monsters out and about. You saw that griffin just hanging outside the city entrance there. They turn up as and when they want, but there are massive set piece fights, particularly with that main dragon from the intro. When he turns up, you sort of get these like palpitations coming out of your chest. It's like pulsing. I get the same thing when I get a letter from the council. How Shadow of the Colossus is that? Loads of the monsters have vulnerable sections. You've even got an impale on triangle and he holds the sword up and just slams it straight into the flesh. You'd never grow bored of climbing all over these amazing creatures. Now back to that travel point quickly. We were talking about getting from A to B, having to do it on foot and how half the adventure is within that journey. The game offers also, around the larger cities, on their exits, a chance to get an ox ride. You may have to wait for the daytime, but once you're sitting on it, it's a fast travel. You get to doze off, but you can get intercepted. Think when you go in hyperdrive on Elite Dangerous, you'll just suddenly be in the middle of the night and stuff will be going down big time.
I grant your weapon a magical boon.
He tips the whole carriage over. I've gone from having 5 minutes in the back of a car to a 70-foot ogre smashing my life to pieces. So there just is no escaping the drama when it comes to opening up or maneuvering around that map. It's interesting because the Rise of Ronin is very fast travel heavy and you can end up just not seeing anything by going from village to city and getting all your quests done really quickly. That is not the case with this and I very much respect it. I clean forgot that was its message from Dragon's Dogma 1. Really hammers home with this. And getting to a new settlement, getting to a new city or village, meeting everyone and feeling that you've accomplished something by making that massive journey across that map has got quite a lot of unexpected reward attached to it. It's also even got its own ghostly apparitions. Has anyone else had this in the comments, please?
You don't know because you were not there. It's all true.
Mayhap you will think this a trifle, but... Curious thing. One of my former masters chose to hire only women. I wonder why.
I'll be sure to keep that in mind.
This is the Celeste Smithy location where that greatsword can be purchased. I think it's 17 grand. So that was a bit of a spanner in the works, but I want to refer to that as something that did not taint my experience of this game. There's a lot of moving parts with this, a lot of quests going on simultaneously. Some of them are time sensitive, they expire. So I'm not surprised a few things fell through the cracks. Talking of cracks, we need to have the conversation about the fairy stones and that traversal difficulty. Some people are saying out there in the forums that it's a microtransaction that's deliberate as an accelerator. Things are difficult to get to, so they want people to have to buy these damn stones that allow you to go from portal to portal. I think as an economy, it's not a terrible thing, and there's certainly not an essential purchase. And it is really the first time I've seen blatant accelerators like that in a Capcom RPG, to be honest. Future Coupe here, there was an orb system, wasn't there, in Devil May Cry 5? That allowed you to buy continues. I'm not too proud of it, and if it's a direction you feel you need to go in as a gamer, then probably shouldn't be on this channel. So we're kind of shifting gears to full gush from here on in. I mean, it's the 16-minute mark. If you're not in love with this game, you're probably not still watching. The heat haze on that shield wobbling as the element comes off it from my mage giving it the buff is just blindingly cool on the detail front. I'm at that current stage with it, and I get this with very few games, but recently I've had it strong with Stellar Blade, The Rise of Ronin, and I've had it hugely with Monster Hunter World, and that's when you suddenly stop and realise that you want to see everything, right? So that main campaign line, that has to take a backseat. Every side quest, every area must be explored. You fan out before moving forward. Are you with me? You sort of trawl. You don't want anything going past you or not seeing a cool thing in this game, and that's what's happened with Dragon's Dogma 2. I'll be looking at doing one playthrough on the warrior character and then move over. I've never played as the mage, but I do want to see some of that range vocation. The joy of this is you can switch out at any point at any village. That is something to look out for. The game will push changing vocations in order to get through some of the larger quests. There's an elf dude in a village, and if you rock up there with the wrong class, you won't even get the quest instigated. So that's something to bear in mind. And no, you cannot change vocation at campsites. I found that out the hard way, and that elf village is in the middle of nowhere. Of course it is. I just want to talk about the Griffin very quickly because it is plaguing me at the moment, and I'm about nearly tough enough to take it on. Notice it's got 4 phases under its health there, so it's not a smaller fight. It's just the way it's in the air and in engine, how the shadows and particles work around it. I remember playing The Witcher 3 for the first time and having a similar fight right at the start of that campaign. This is just as much of an incredible experience. The way and height that it comes in from the sky like this, I hadn't seen that sort of stuff on a video game before. I've played a lot of video games. Also got that parachute shield parry move on. Check how well this works.
I hope you weren't expecting mercy.
Also have one of the more demasculating moments of my gaming career getting flung off this ogre.
Got you. You're yours.
That was impeccably timed, Arisen.
This clip also demonstrates perfectly F around with wolves and find out.
I'll soon be ours. Yes, Master. I shall hasten to your
I was so angry at the situation, annoyed that my pawns didn't come and help me quick enough. I knacker myself out, whacking the wolves, and have to get help on the stamina. So just about every Sony AAA release we've had this year has nearly been got ye material for me. We've got Helldivers 2, we've got Stellar Blade, we've got Rise of the Ronin, all of which have been reviewed on the channel. Now we've got Dragon's Dogma 2. This one really could do it for me. I am so behind its message, and I love its old school pillars with how RPGs kind of used to work. Its ideas behind the journey being just as arduous. I think we've had quite a lot of quality of life / hand-holding in that direction. So getting hold of this was a big refresher and reminder of what those games were all about in the first place.
This foe exalted to party its fell venom. Even a graze can prove debility.
You don't need to tell me twice.
I shall take this opportunity to observe our surroundings.
This is not going to be my last bit of Dragon's Dogma 2 content, not by any stretch. I'm going to keep with it, keep an eye on patches and performance, a little bit like the Cyberpunk situation. If you remember Dragon's Dogma 1 and the Arisen DLC and the expansions, they're absolutely amazing. Capcom never really half-asses its RPG expansion, so I'm super excited to see what's in the roadmap further down the line and to see if this game maybe gets a performance mode added. That would be some great news. What's the name of your YouTube channel again? It was called Couch Coop. You mean Couch Co-op? No. Coop is spelled C-O-O-P. If it was Couch Co-op, it would be spelled C-O-O-P, like cooperative. That's what that abbreviation is all about. My channel is spelled Couch Coop, as in Cooper, C-O-O-P. I will see you down there.